Good morning and welcome to our parliamentary news program, A View from the House, coming to you live from Parliament in Cape Town. I'm Abra Barbia. In our lineup this morning, we talk to the chairperson of SCOPA about the use of consultants by state departments. Ministers in the social services cluster replied to questions from MPs in the National Assembly. But let's go to our first item. Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts says it's time to crack down on the use of consultants within government departments. SCOPA's comments follow the Auditor General's report revealing that more than 100 billion rand was spent on their services over the past 3 years.
In the hot seat, Correctional Services, the department had to explain its use of consultants. At issue, an 11.7 million rand bill for an IT software project.
The consultants ran the show. There was no bid, there was no tender processing. It was based on pure quotation.
The SIU found collusion between consultants and the then Chief Financial Officer.
Patrick Gillingham was accused in the presentation to us by the SIU of having benefited from some of the contractors to the tune of over 2 million. You know, rugby tickets, cars, renovations, overseas trips, this and that. And a case was supposed to have been opened. And until today, we don't know what's happening. Why is this guy not being brought before the court of law so he can clear his name?
Godi says the Auditor General's report supports the view that consultants should not be used for work that should be done by paid officials. In a bid to aid the process, Public Service Minister Lindiwe Sisulu is amending legislation to establish an anti-corruption bureau that will track corruption in the civil service.
So that we do not have a case which has been repeating itself in the public service. Somebody is found guilty of an offence, either suspended or removed from office in Limpopo, finding a job in Gauteng.
But the responsibility to act will still lie with the various heads of department. Asanda Mbeche for A View from the House in Parliament.
Now, Parliament's Watchdog Committee on Public Accounts, SCOPA, has already scrutinised the state affairs in the South African Police Services, the Department of Defence and Military Veterans, and met with Correctional Services yesterday. To get a sense of what's happening in these departments, we are now joined by the chairperson of Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts, Mr. Temba Godi. Mr. Godi, thank you very much for joining us. Now, one of the biggest culprits of this spending on consultants is defence. And some of your committee members actually describe the situation as being alarming. What's your view on what's happening?
No, indeed. If you look at the entirety of the report of the Auditor General, it does not create a good picture. You get a sense that suggests that public administration has been privatized to consultants. And indeed, the Department of Defence and Military Veterans is the biggest spender. And you find that they have what they call evergreen contracts, contracts that were entered into in the 1980s that are open-ended. They are there forever, without any review, without any cost-benefit analysis as required in law. And in some instances, it's like people just wanted to give away money and just create a contract that added no value, that was not being monitored, and where there was no transfer of skills.
How do they explain these evergreen contracts?
Well, I think the challenge of our lack of stability at the top. You get officials who say, I was personally not there, so I therefore cannot give the rationale for this kind of decision that has been taken. I think that is what actually frustrates our efforts and actually gives the loophole for people to mess up and then go away, in the knowledge that whoever we're going to get will say, you know, under my watch, this will not happen. But we're worried that 5 years down the line, we'll find that something nefarious was happening under his watch, but then he will not be there or she will not be there anymore.
Now, this lack of continuity in the top structures of leadership, do you see the same thing happening within the South African Police Service? Because they were also before your committee a week or two ago.
Look, in fact, in all the departments that we have had to deal with, whether it is defense, police, transport, health, rural development, or correctional services, all the accounting officers and all the senior management people, they were not there. So they can't justify or explain, or in some instances, even documentation is not there to explain the processes that took place for certain tenders to have been given, or in instances where the full amount was paid 3 years ago, but up to today the project is incomplete. To say, how did it happen that a contract is signed, the full amount is paid, but the work has not been done? Or in instances where work has been done, but at the end, as we're talking now, that work is irrelevant. So the money spent was actually fruitless and wasteful.
So it sounds like the managing of these contracts is obviously not, people aren't being very diligent with how they manage these contracts.
Look, if you were to take correctional services, for example, you found a situation where you had 9 officials against over 20 consultants. And clearly these officials were not able to manage the consultants. And of course the key challenge is project management in government. We find that in all instances the departments are not able to manage these consultants. So the consultants come in there, do as they please, get paid, walk away, and the problem still persists. So that is why we have a sense and a feeling that it's like people just wanted to give money away. And we are saying at the end of this exercise, we want to go back with a fine comb and look at problematic and questionable transactions and call these private companies maybe to come to Parliament and explain to us how they justify getting the millions that they got from government without providing any quality service.
Tell me about some of the recommendations made by the AG's office, and have these recommendations already been implemented in some of the departments?
Well, I must say that the Department of Correctional Services, we did get a sense that there has been attempts to act on the recommendations of the Auditor General. And the Department of Transport were pleased with the approach of the minister himself in terms of seeking to be hands-on and to ensuring that these things don't recur or don't continue under his watch. So you'll find that there's differentiated reactions. What we have a problem with always, it's a situation where officials seem to react only after the Auditor General has come in. It's like without the Auditor General, they don't know what's happening in their departments. And that is the fundamental problem, which reflects weakness in leadership, dysfunctional systems, and an inability to have a system that is able to detect problems and challenges earlier on, which means your internal audit function, your risk management processes are not in place. So you don't know what is happening. You're not able to see problems. It's only when an external auditor comes in that you are made aware of problems, and only then are they reacting to rectify the situation.
What's happening within the SAPS? Are they implementing recommendations also?
Well, we have been assured by the National Commissioner that under her watch, this kind of things will not happen, and that they will be taking measures to ensure that these things are corrected. But like I say, that is the problem we have. The current leadership in all departments say we're not there. We are going to deal with these things, and we'll make sure that these things don't happen under our watch. And that has generally been the song that we've heard from departments, and correctly so, because the people who are there were not there at that time. So this lack of stability at the top creates loopholes wherein you are not able to have proper accountability.
So now, SCOPA is supposed to be the watchdog committee. Why did it take so long to uncover all of this?
Well, look, in every hearing that we've had, as a committee, we've always hammered the fact that we want a capable state. We want capacity to be built within government. And it was in part out of the concerns that we've raised that the Auditor General did a performance audit. And without a report from the Auditor General that gave the details, that showed the depth of the rot, it is difficult for us, an oversight body, to get to the root of the problem. So the report of the Auditor General actually assists us in our oversight work.
Changing tack slightly, there have been reports of death threats to members of SCOPA. Can you just tell us a little bit about this, please?
Well, this relates to the Northwest, where some information and evidence has come out that the chairperson of SCOPA in the Northwest, Comrade Hloman Chauke's life was in danger. Some silly official who felt uncomfortable that SCOPA is pursuing instances of misuse of public money against some MECs in that province, felt that they needed to be stopped before many casualties, are held. And I think we want to condemn this foolish, intent, because it is meant to intimidate members from doing their work and to create space for people to be corrupt without any accountability.
Mr. Gowdy, thank you very much for your time. Coming up next, the Social Development Minister is put on the spot over the Child Protection Register. That's our story after the break. Do stay with us.